How to be grateful when life is full of problems. What's up, guys? It's Tony DeBell here, and today I'm going to show you what you need to do, what mindset you need to have in order to do this. And if you like this content, be sure to smash that subscribe button. Alright, let's get started. Absolutely everyone has problems. And I mean everyone. If you have someone who has no problems, then that means they are not living life. Whether it's, trying to find a job, trying to get that straight A's, maybe something serious like a breakup. There's all sorts of problems, and everyone has to encounter these difficult situations before they can actually, move on with their life. But it's especially when life is difficult, life is truly testing you, it's putting you to your limits, is when it's most important to have the right perspective on life. And it's really important to make sure that when you have that right perspective, that these problems actually look like opportunities. So we go to tip number 1, which is change your language from, I have to I get to. Now, this is something I learned from I actually learned from my boss, where he says to change the language to, like, for example, instead of saying I have to go to the groceries, I have to go to work, I have to, do laundry, you change it to, I get to go do laundry, I get to go to work, I get to do groceries. And this is such a tiny shift in your mind, but it's such a profound shift. And the reason why is because it goes from forcing yourself thinking it's a chore to actually being grateful for actually having the opportunity. See, not everyone in the world can have a job. There's so many people that don't have jobs. Same thing with the groceries. Not everywhere in the world has a place where it's just a box of food on demand where you can just go, drive 10 minutes, get some, bananas, and then drive back home. There's some parts in the world where that's not even possible. Or even getting something that you may not seem to like doing laundry. There's a lot of aspects to laundry making that you don't really think about. You need to have a water running supply. You probably need some place to do laundry, or like a house or shelter. You need to make sure that you have the time to do that. Like, you need to have like a peaceful, and there's a lot of these little things that you don't think, it just comes naturally because we've been doing it every single week and it's become a habit. And so when you switch these words from I have to I get to, you start to like make that little shift in your mind where it's like, okay, it's not it's not like I'm forced to do it. I should be grateful that I had the opportunity to do this, and then elaborate on that, and then start putting that with every single aspect of your life, and you're gonna become a lot more positive. You're gonna be you might be a little too happy, but yeah. Tip number 2 is this principle from a Stoic philosophy, which I really like, and it's called amor fati. And I might be butchering the name. And the idea is that everything that happens to you in life, whether it's good or bad, has a purpose in your life. Now, what does that mean exactly? So, for example, let's say that what usually happens is when life is full of problems is that you start comparing yourself to other people. For example, if you're 20 years old, you're going to start comparing yourself from people in the news who's making millions at 20, and you're still working at McDonald's, or you're still in debt in college or something. You compare their lifestyles and be like, why am I right here? Why am I like this? It's a pretty crappy feeling. That's why you should ingrain amor fati in your life. The idea here is that you don't know if it's actually a good thing or a bad thing in your life. Like, for example, let's say that you are at a Christmas party. You get to experience the joys of being with your family, your friends. You get party with a little bit of Santa. Get some gifts, get some chocolate, and that's the good part. But let's say there's a bad part. Like, for example, in high school, it's the love of your sweetheart. You were in such a deep and loving relationship, and then all of a sudden, you break up. Now, at that moment, it feels like it's the end of the world. Like, you lost the love of your life. It hurts physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Basically, it just hurts everywhere. And what you may not realize is that could actually be the catalyst for you to change. So, for example, you could use that energy, like, at that moment, it sucks, but you can use that energy so that you can change your life. So let's say that breakup causes you to get fitter. It made you to work harder, start maybe an online business. Maybe it started you to look at life differently. Maybe it started making you more empathetic. Maybe you started learning from the mistakes of your dating life. There's so many positive elements that you don't know exactly if it's actually good or bad. And this could be something as mundane as, you know, a couple minutes late to work. Now, let's say you decided to, you know, speed up, but then there's a red light that happened, and then you stop. And that 2 minutes, you know, like let's say there's a red light every single like street, and you're like, come on, man, I need to go to work. And then you don't realize that that actually might be a good thing, where it's like, you know, you could have stopped a future accident, or it could just be a bad thing and you just get late to work. You really don't know what's in life. And the reason why this is very profound is because this helps you like not know what the trajectory of a life is. Like, for example, you see a lot of 20-year-olds where, you know, they're making millions, and it's like, yeah, you know, I'm doing great. And then, you know, they climb up. Maybe if this is a curve, they start a little sooner, but they might plateau at 30 because they feel comfortable, or that's where they like to live. Whereas some people, you know, I could pull up a list of, you know, famous and rich people where they didn't start to become successful until they were 40 or 50 or 60. Like, you don't know the trajectory of your life. All these elements, all these things that make who you are, all these experiences play a big part in what you do. And that's why, to tie it all back together, is that you should be grateful for every single experience that you experience, whether it's good or bad, because this could be an actual, you know, huge learning lesson that can save you, you know, millions of dollars, or even save your life way down the road when it becomes even more important. Tip number 3. Hey, all right, let's get it started. So basically, the third principle is you want to make sure that you write a list of everything you're grateful for. And you want to put this whether in your like your day one journal, or, you know, some sort of journal, or your notepad. I use iPhone Notes. That's where it's great. It's wonderful. But when you write these things down, what you want to do is you want to feel every single moment. So for example, let's say that, you know, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for my friends, I'm grateful for, you know, my water. But once you start going to around like 20 or 30, then you have to start thinking a bit more. It's like, okay, what else am I grateful for? You know, I'm grateful for being able to do laundry. I'm grateful for, you know, the fact that I have an iPhone to do a video, you know, and then you start getting more granular and granular as you keep going further. And what you'll notice is that you'll have a list of things that you're grateful for, and you have this basically giant list of safekeeping that you should have in your pocket at all times. So whenever you feel like life is just unfair, life is just filled with problems, you just pull this up, you change your mental state for 5 minutes, and your mood would go from, you know, let's say if you're like in a very negative mood, you're around like a 1 to 2 out of 10. You have this list that you already made, you pull it up on your phone, and then you just look at it, and your mood would go from a 1 to 2 to, after you're done reading it, maybe to like a 4 or 5. And that's a huge change, because then you start seeing the world as less negative. You know, maybe it'd be like, okay, this is such a, you know, like a terrible situation, but at least it's not the end of the world, because you have this list of gratitude. And I have a list of some gratitudes that you can get started, but then you want to make your own personalized list, because when you personalize it for yourself, it sticks a lot better. You know, for example, I'm grateful that I get to go to the gym, but, you know, you may not do the gym. You may, you know, do running instead. Tip number 4, have a support group. What you really want is a support group that not just like you can talk about your problems, but just by them being there, it just makes you feel better. Like, this doesn't have to be therapy where you talk about your problems and then they try to figure out solutions. Maybe it depends on what type of person you are. Maybe you need that type of support group where you can just let it all out and they'll just listen intensely. Maybe you need that support group where you talk about it and then, you know, you come up with solutions together. Maybe it's just a support group where you don't need to talk about anything, but just by them being there, just by them living the life they want, just by having their energy around, it just makes you feel better. For me personally, it's the third group that does it for me. You know, someone that I know that has my back, someone that could trust me, someone I would take a bullet for. That's the type of support network I need to have. But you need to distinguish what sort of support group that you need in order to overcome all these, you know, problems in your life. And the reason why this is very important is because whenever there's just one person or even multiple people and you know they have your back, then it makes you feel like you're not alone. And when you're not alone, it makes things a lot easier because it doesn't feel like the burden's all on you. You know, it feels like, okay, I'm not alone. Like, I still have a support group. I still have help. And whether you're battling, you know, your outer demons, your inner demons, or just like you're going through a rough time, it's really important to make sure that you have some sort of people that you can rely on. Now, there's a couple criteria that you want to have when you make the support group. One is you want to make sure that they're listening to you. Maybe they're actually intensely listening to you. That's the very first step. Like, you want to make sure that you feel heard. They're not on your phone. They're actually actively listening to you. The second thing you need is trust. You need to trust them that they won't just be like, they'll hear your problem and then they'll start telling it to other people. You need to make sure that whatever you tell them, that you understand that this is serious and that they shouldn't be, like, they should know already that they shouldn't be spreading it. And the third criteria is you want people around you that are living the life that either you want to live or they already have a positive and, such a friendly, like, aura or energy. And the reason why you want this is because who you surround yourself with will influence you. So, for example, let's say you are surrounded by, let's say your support network is filled with people who complain, are sad, they're not happy with their lives. Well, they're probably, that stuff is going to transfer into your life, and you're going to probably feel sad, not happy with your life, and complaining. Now, if you surrounded yourself with other people, who are happy, optimistic about their life, and they can overcome any problems that come along their way, well, you're probably going to start having their mentality little by little. Maybe you won't have their full, the full transfer, but just that little bit of like energy makes it a lot easier to overcome any problems you're encountering right now. And you want to be grateful whenever you find the support group. And you want to keep it. You don't want to let it go. You want to keep it. And tip number 5, when you overcome this crisis, whatever problems you're facing, you want to make sure that you remember this moment and be incredibly grateful for having the strength to overcome it. Life is testing you. It gives you difficult problems to solve. It gives you difficult situations that you must overcome. And now, life isn't fair. Like, that's how it is. That life is just filled with problems. It's how you think about these problems that create your reality. And the beauty of this is that when you overcome it, you will grow as a person. Like, that problem that seems so gigantic is going to seem so minuscule in the future. And don't leave any room for doubt that you won't solve the problem. Don't have any thoughts are like, what if I don't actually overcome this crisis? Because when you start thinking those thoughts, your brain is going to start thinking about how it's not going to be to solve the problems. Rather, you should focus all your energy into overcoming the crisis no matter what. And you should be incredibly grateful for actually being able to have that mindset shift, because most people don't do that. They just go through their problems and they just let it fester and they don't overcome it and they can't grow as a person. So don't have that mindset. Make sure that you actually focus all your energy into figuring out how to solve this problem. And that's it. How to be grateful when life is full of problems. Some things may work here, some things don't work. The best way to use this video is to try out everything I said. Create a list, be grateful, embody the principle of amor fati, looking at life through another perspective. See what works for you, see what doesn't work for you, see what sticks for you, and see what doesn't stick for you. And then throw away the things that don't stick for you and use the things that do work for you. And that's how you start changing your habits, because then instead of forcing all these traits, just pick the ones that you like and then go for it. And if you do that, then that means your life will improve just a little bit better, which creates a huge trajectory, a huge growth in the future. All right, hope you enjoyed my content. Peace out.